I think it's recorded. All I'll do is I'll edit it after the fact in case we say anything that's a bit too blue. Is it anything that's too blue for YouTube?
Which is
And the
always
rest
a
of it,
risk. It's always a
yeah,
risk.
it is. It is. Yeah. So and we'll just do it casually because you and I get on. I
Yeah,
think we'd have a great time in a
just
boozer.
let's just freewheel it, and you can edit out the saucy stuff.
All right.
You
So
can edit out the
well,
bit where one of us drops our togs. You can edit
yeah.
that out.
Well, see, what I was going to do was I was thinking like we could just pick one or two good stories each from our respective nations and have a crack about what's gone on. But there's so much mad stuff
Yeah, it's
today.
crazy.
I feel
It's
like we'll
absolutely,
have
yeah.
to start with a war, won't we? We'll
Yeah.
have to start there.
You look, just you shoot on, and I'll you cut and riposte, and I'll parry all that crap, all that fencing nonsense.
All right. Well, I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll start with war because this is the story that I've just got off the news. Apparently, I mean, I was howling reading it. I was like, "What are the Iranians thinking?" It sounds like let's just sum up here. It sounds like right. The Americans bombed Iran, so the Iranians went, "Oh, we're not having that," and just decided to bomb all of the neighbors. That's where we're at, right? I was like, honestly, apparently, I looked through it and I made this post after I'd read it all on Reuters. Sounds like they were aiming for US military bases, but they're not very good shots. So they've ended up dropping bombs on one of them is like a bomb landing in the middle of a street in Bahrain. Just like, oh, this'll show them bloody Americans what will blown up a load of Muslims. That'll teach them a lesson. So
What about
yeah.
the whole thing about the Kazi getting blocked up in the aircraft carrier? Did you see that one?
No, I didn't know.
Did you not see that? I think it was a Gerald R. Ford or whatever, one of those big, massive. There's two of them out there, I think. But all the jacks got blocked, so so there
Right.
was sewage everywhere, and the whole thing was a disaster. They had to divert and go to Greece to sort it out because they had to pull in somewhere. Now
Right.
there was rumors floating around the ether sphere that the people on board stuffed T-shirts and socks down the jacks to bung them up.
What,
So
like a
the-
protest?
yeah, so they wouldn't have to.
Really?
Yeah, because they were thinking, oh, listen, we could be the false flag here. What if they hit us? Because I think it's one of the older carriers. So they say, yeah, well, no great loss there. You know what I mean? We could probably getting rid of that one. So they were thinking, yeah, this is looking a bit dicey for us. How about we block the lose? And then
Really? That's so like Gen X, isn't it? Like,
Yeah.
sorry, Gen Z.
yeah,
Like, in the old days, they go, oh no, we have to go and fight the frogs.
yeah.
I don't fancy that. But they'd go, now they go, oh, we'll block the toilets. That'll show.
Blocked it. Yeah, there was I saw some videos of it. There was literally sewage just sloshing about all over the place. It was a nightmare, and they couldn't fix it at sea because whatever way they have some vacuum system going on there, it was a pretty tricky thing to fix. So they kind of had to call up the Greeks and say, "Listen, lads, anytime we can pull in there, anytime we have a quick stop off there to fix our toilet situation."
You know
But,
you're in the shit when you have to ring the Greeks for an hand. I mean, what are they good at? What are they good at?
Well, breaking plates, I think, is pretty good
yeah,
at that.
it's good. Yeah, I wouldn't let them run the galley. They might be
No.
all right with the sewage. You know what is weird? When we moved into an house, so I bought an house out here when I started working at SpaceX, and first time I'd bought a place in the States. And what was weird is I had to put new toilets in because they were all knackered. Like, I know the Americans eat a lot of shite, but you should have seen the clip of the toilet. It looked like, the toilet on Trade Spot. That's what the shit looked like in this house, right? So we pulled them out, and I buy brand new ones. And there's a big stickers all of them. The Americans love advertising.
Yeah.
And on all these toilets in Home Depot, there was big things saying, "Can flush 12 golf balls." I was like, what? Why do you need to flush golf balls? Like, the Americans have got an obsession with flushing massive quantities of shite. Like, that's really weird. Like,
Industrial strength.
Yeah. If you've got an arse like the back end of a bus, we can flush it. It's just basically what they say.
Or your money back.
So yeah, that's ironic. That considering the American obsession with very powerful toilets, they reckon there's 2 nuclear reactors on them aircraft carriers.
Is there?
So
Is there 2?
what they should, yeah. So they should just rewire one of them for the shitters, And it'll be like if you're accidentally flush while you're sat on it, you'll just go, we're like getting sucked into a black hole.
Maybe they have that figured out by now. I think this is one of the old ones, if not the old. So they probably didn't have that forward level of thinking back when they built that one. So the sailors on board were thinking, yeah, we could kind of get hit with a dummy run here. And oh no, that really old character, the oldest one we have, got sunk. Oh no, what a pity. Oh well, never mind.
Yeah, that's funny. Yeah, from as far as I'm aware, that the Gerald Ford, the big one, the center there, is mega Gucci. Like it's like, you see, I was amazed how big the Yank carriers were when I was on HMS Ocean, like a shitty British one. And you get parked alongside one of them Yank ones. You go, Christ, we have got like a tin pot navy, haven't we? We've got a bathtub.
Have you guys got now? Have you? I know you have one or two. Have you still?
Two. They'll be shite though, won't they? I think ours is like a tin shed with some inflatables attached to it. It'll be shite ours. Apparently ours isn't nuclear either. The Queen Elizabeth and the Charles are, I think they're like diesel.
They stuck with diesel. Oh right,
yeah,
okay.
Yeah,
why? Did it just cheaper? Cheaper?
Yeah,
Yellow pack?
Cheaper.
Yellow pack brand.
Yeah, Aldi aircraft carriers. If Aldi made aircraft carriers, we'd get them from them. They reckon the whole thing was Brown, though, didn't it? It was pork barrel politics, Gordon Brown.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Did you read about all that? Because
No,
I reckon it was all shite.
Yeah, no, I did. I remember they were having a big kind of kerfuffle and thing about this. You built one recently, didn't you? Or you just have one built, or it's just commissioned or something. But
hey, don't say you. I don't touch that shitty thing. I don't get the blame for that.
Sorry, I know there's a whole Army Navy thing going on there. I don't want to get into the weeds and all that stuff.
No. No, apparently it's diesel, yeah. So I think it must be because it was cheaper or something. But you know where the pork barrel politics thing comes from? There's an interesting segue. You know where that comes from?
I just know it's an American term. I hear it every time they're trying to pass a bill of some sort.
Well, they say pork. It's because some Yank senator was directing funds in one of the states where they have like a massive pig farming industry.
Oh.
So it's like pork barrel politics is when you're spending government money and then it'll help you get elected. So they called it pork barrel politics when Brown did it, because basically the whole reason we bought 2 aircraft carriers was to send jobs to Gordon Brown's constituency, basically. And that's what they said. All the generals were like, we don't need aircraft carriers. We're a shitty little island. We're not going to do anything. And it's true, isn't it? Like what Britain has always annoyed me. Like, it's one of those countries that's desperately trying to cling to the good old days when they had an empire. And nobody wants to accept the fact that it's a shitty little island full of Somalians. Like, I don't see why do we have to be powerful? And this is what I tell everyone who will listen. I tell them, like, the happiest people in the world are in, like, Luxembourg or some shit. Like, you
Iceland.
Don't get anything out of it. Yeah. And the Americans doing it. I mean, it's different for the Yanks because they've got loads of money. But I tell even Americans, it's like the happiest Americans aren't the guys who live next to the Navy bases. They're the guys who live in the little quiet places out in the middle of nowhere.
Iowa.
Yeah, isn't it? And that's what people seem to be obsessed with having, the military. It's like, who cares, really? Like, the happiest people are in little shitty countries like Norway or something that haven't got an interest in trying to be the big hard man all the time. And the British love it. They're like, let's go and twat someone. It's like, what's the point? Like, what do you get out of it?
You see, at least, man, you've got a history, a great, glorious, vast history of that type of thing. We here in Ireland, no, we're more the kind of revolutionary type guys, and we might have had a few good military units over the centuries. You know, as the old saying goes, send in the Irish first and let them get on with it.
Yeah.
And that was pretty much our forte. But in terms of a military thing, no, our army, I think, is 6,000 or 7,000, if it's even that. But our government now, I think, on the behest of Ursula von der Obersturmbannführer, they're suddenly now starting to talk all kind of militaristic over here. They like us, like what? With our 6,000, suppose, and there's probably 3,000 of them are women who are probably working in various backroom roles or whatever. So, but what they're doing is they've been obviously primed and pumped by the Eurocrats for what I think is coming. They're desperately trying to get us into some kind of a fracas with Russia for some unknown reason. Now, as far as I'm concerned, listen, guys, have at it. Nothing to do with us. Nothing to do with us. You
Yeah.
guys figure that stuff out on your own. We can't influence that whole Tea Party either way with what
Yeah.
we've got. But no, they're suddenly ramping up the ads and they're starting to talk all about the Irish Army. Look, they've been underfunding, like over in Britain. They've been underfunding our armed forces, the little we have. Like literally to the point where nobody wanted to be anywhere near it. You couldn't live on it. There was actually serving personnel living in their cars because they couldn't afford to have a house. So
It's
all of a
unbelievable.
sudden, it's crazy stuff. So
It's
you think you're
unbelievable.
bad over in the UK? No, there's always somebody worse. There's always somebody worse.
Well, there's a lot of good stuff to unpack there. First of all, I have to play this clip because you might not have seen this. On my channel, I have a forfeit, like it's a game I play with my followers. So when I say a politician's name in full that I don't like, I have a clip for them. Like, for example, if I ever say Rachel Reeves, I press this.
She's a spastic.
I have little clips like that. And I've got one for Ursula. Look, Ursula von der Scheiße.
After you.
Ursula von der Leyen.
That's good, isn't it?
I must get a few of them for my channel. I'm behind the times here. I'm still in primitive, but I'm old. You see, I'm old. I can't be expected to keep up with all these newfangled gadgets like you young Turks have.
Young. I definitely don't feel young. As to the rest of it, I'll tell you because you know I love military history. If you have got a bent to be proud of your military history, the Irish do definitely have that, right? Because up to a third of the soldiers on the deck in the Peninsular War, Napoleonic, all that Waterloo were Irish.
Yeah.
So I mean, there might have been press ganged into it, a lot of them, but you got a proud military history in Ireland. The Connaught Rangers, they were feared by the frogs.
Yes, and as well as that, I saw on a recent some kind of congressional thing where Trump says that I think half the recipients of the Medal of Honor were Irish or of Irish descent.
Yeah,
weird statistic like that. So yeah, we can be a little bit out there.
You're a chewy people. Yeah, that's what we say in the Northeast. If you know someone who just loves scrapping all the time, chewy. It's a good word, isn't it? You can sort of guess what it means.
Oh,
but the Irish are chewy.
We have our uses.
Yeah. No, well, I think that's why it's funny when they always pick on us, don't they? I think the one group of people that we don't want to cause chew with, if you've got any sense, is like the Irish, the English, the Scottish. Like, I think it's living on an island that's freezing and pissing down. It just makes you bad tempered all the time. So we're a naturally chewy people. But no, the Irish have got a grand military history if you really think about it. It just wasn't always independent.
Well, look, we've had some family squabbles.
Yeah. Connaught Rangers were terrified. No, the French were terrified of them, but they were always pissed. So maybe that's why. Maybe that's why.
But they got the job done. They got the job. If you need somebody to storm the redoubt, who you going to call?
Pissed Irishman will get the job done every time. I'll tell you a class film as well. Have you ever seen The Siege of Jadotville?
Yes. Oh, yeah.
That is a class film. I love that. Yeah. I watched that. I was like, get in. I love this. I love watching the Irish where he's like, can you shoot that twat in the white suit? Of course I fucking can. But I loved it. I was like, this is a class film. Yeah.
And the gas thing is, the terrible thing is that they were treated as villains when they came home. They were.
Shocking. They always are, aren't they?
Yeah, I met a guy. I actually met a guy who was in that siege way back in the day. This would be the late 80s. I know. There was some old lad that used to come around where I was working at. He used to kind of have a beret. He was one of these weird outfits, you know. You say, who's your man with this beret? It's some kind of metal thing. And somebody said, oh, no, he was in the siege of Jadotville. Now, it meant nothing to me then. This is way before.
When you're a kid. When you're a
kid,
you don't care.
Who cares? You know, but I was chit-chatting to him because, you know, when you're bored, you chat to anyone, even the weird outfella. People are saying that about me these days. You know,
we're the weird ones now. We're the weird ones now, yeah.
And he was telling me, oh no, when we came home, we were, you know, the Jadotville Jacks is what they called them. It was a derogatory term. The media and the government, obviously, who made an absolute arse of the whole thing, they obviously couldn't take the flack themselves. So they blamed the lads. You know, you probably know this, I'm sure, from your own history.
Escapades.
Yes, your own many escapades. That the officer class and the ruling class, they will shit on the ordinary soldier all the time, every time. Always. Yeah, they will, with no remorse. No remorse at all.
Yeah, it's life, isn't it? The ruling class stomp on people like us, working stiffs.
Yeah.
From, it doesn't matter whether you're from Dundalk or Dundee or, I don't know, a dog shit town in England.
Yeah.
The shit on your door, it is shocking. Well, look at Al Blackman. We're going on a tangent there. Al Blackman's the bootneck who got done for like murder, and they gave him 25 years because the Taliban opened up on them. Like, they started the engagement. The Taliban engaged the British. The Royal Marines returned fire. They've cleared the compound, and one of them had been shot about 6 times. And he stupidly got caught on camera going, no sense wasting an FFD on this fella, and he blew his head off. Finished him off, basically. And they did him for, like, first-degree murder. And at the time, we were all outraged in the military. We were like, if you come home from work and there's a bloke shagging your wife and you blow his head off, they don't do you for first-degree murder.
No,
you
that's
get,
a crime of passion.
Yeah. You get, like, manslaughter, don't you? Just diminish responsibility. You get about 4 years. This guy, the brass, hung him out to dry straight away and just went 25 years. And that's what he got. So, and after a long appeals process, it got overturned. But hundreds of lads in the Royal Marines left at that. They were so outraged at that. It's like it was the enemy in a war zone. Like, it was unprofessional. You're not supposed to do that. Even if it's a lost cause, you're supposed to give them first aid. But it wasn't. First-degree murder is like you ran up to an old granny in Netto and stabbed her in the eye. Like, it's ridiculous. And that's the brass hanging the lads out.
Yeah, and they know they're playing to an open gallery with the civilian population who have no comprehension and could never even imagine being in that kind of situation. And then, of course, you have the people who run society now, at least run our society, the feminists. The suicidal empathy gang. They're basically, oh no, there's a child at risk.
Oh, it's unbelievable. Mate, don't start me on that. Do you remember when Merkel went, multicultural's failing, this project's failed, everything's failed, then they went, look at this, there's one dead kid on the beach, let him in, let them all in. How many? 20 million, let him in. One dead kid.
And you know the story behind that, Matt. You know the actual story behind that. It was all nonsense. I was going to say bollocks, but I won't. It was all nonsense because it turned out that kid's father had been safely living in Turkey for years.
Right.
And he wanted, for some reason, he had relatives in Canada, and he wanted to get his teeth done, and he couldn't get it done in Turkey. Now, I know Turkey's famous for that whole thing.
Famous for that,
he obviously couldn't get on the program, whatever they have. But he had relatives in Canada that said, listen, if you can get yourself over here, which should be handy enough once you get out of Turkey, we'll get you on the dental plan. You'll be good to go. And he jumped on a boat with his kid. And the whole thing went, as you saw, it was a disaster, a tragedy. And the father that's what came out in the end. The father was basically trying to get his way to Canada, took a boat with the kid, and then that was the picture, the iconic picture. It was nonsense.
I did hear the dad was safely in Canada. I did hear that.
Oh, did he make it to Canada in the end?
Apparently so, yeah. Alan Cudry was the kid's name. Because me and you are sad bastards. We read the news all day. I remember all this stuff. I just never heard the turkey teeth part.
Yeah.
Which is ironic, isn't it? Because 80% of England's got turkey teeth these days. And he wanted to go to Canada. What a wanker. And the thing is, if that was a good Irish fella and his wife and kid fell off the boat, he'd have jumped in and saved them or died trying.
Yeah,
it's quite telling that rat bastard's safe in Canada.
Because if the truth of that picture had come out, everybody's ire would have been rightly on the father. What the hell? Yeah. You were safe in a safe country and a country, and you decide, that's I think I can do better than this, and then hops on a rickety boat with his kid.
Unbelievable. That is unbelievable, isn't it? What a wanker. I never knew that.
Yeah, and that changed the course of Europe. You know what? We both know what Merkel said. Oh no, the horror, and immediately invited the whole world and his granny and cousin and 57 million relatives into Europe.
Unbelievable.
That's how history works.
That is terrible, isn't it? This is the thing, though, right? So now we can talk about the conspiracy theories because honestly, I genuinely think, right, they're not stupid. I mean, they're pretty stupid, but they're not ignorant. Like, they know that collapsing the border and inviting in 30 million hairy-ass blokes from the third world is a terrible idea. They know that, don't they?
They do.
So why? Like, we can get into that. Why do you think they're really doing it? Like, Merkel knew that was awful. She's not going to
Yeah.
go, oh, one dead baby photo, therefore change the world. So why are they doing it? What do you honestly think the reason is that these MPs have let millions and millions of hairy-ass third-world men unvetted into Ireland, England, Scotland, Wales, France, Germany, Spain? Why? What do you think's the secret?
Well, okay, we're kind of getting into deep waters here.
Yeah.
I should have put on my scuba gear for this one.
It's Saturday. What else are we going to
Yes,
do, eh?
absolutely. And look, at the root of it all, I think going to go back to basics. We've managed here in the West to create a society that doesn't work. It just doesn't work. It's dysfunctional. It's
Yeah.
dysfunctional in terms of we have no kids. Women stopped having kids. We flipped the thing upside down. With the feminists, I think, were the useful idiots in this whole game, and they were egged on by people who are way smarter than them. And that was basically the big kind of business people in tandem with the governments, because they thought, listen, we have all these women kind of sitting at home. We can't tax them. All they're doing is having kids, raising kids. So what use is that? So we can't even tax them. So they said the business people wanted cheap labor. So they told the government, listen, if you pass a few laws, we could change that. And then they got on to the weirdos, the wackos, and the loonies, which are the feminists. So they said to these weirdos and loonies, listen, you women, you're getting a bad deal here being at home and oppressed and patriarchy and all that stuff. What you need to be doing is to get out in the workplace and, be useful and be girl bosses and all stuff like that. So, of course, the government loved it, because as soon as a woman leaves her kids at home or in a daycare, goes to work, well, she can get fleeced with tax, as you know.
Yeah.
And the globalists, the big business global people in that realm, they loved it because they now had double the workforce. You didn't have to rely on men anymore. You had men plus all these women.
Yeah.
Now, eventually, that's a great plan for a while. It works great. It's like a shot of adrenaline for a while. But the problem, the sting in the tail is when a woman is out working 30 or 40 hours a week, what she's not doing is having kids.
Yeah.
And she's not having them, and she's not minding them.
So as always, it's all about the money, basically.
Yeah. Oh, it's all about the money. As far as I'm concerned, it's all about the money. Now, the feminists were the useful idiots in the play. They just thought they were doing it because, this is going to free up women. Women's happiness has never been lower than it is now. Never been lower.
Totally, yeah.
It's been tanking since the 60s or the 50s even. And it's at rock bottom, because women really didn't want this. They were kind of all right, because in fairness, they weren't oppressed. It was very much a double act,
Yeah.
like they were doing their thing. There was the world of women, the world of men. Now, us blokes, we didn't exactly, as they would have said, we didn't have it all our own way. No lad wanted to get up on a snowy, frosty morning at 6 o'clock, put on his hobnail boots and go and work 16 hours down the mine.
Yeah,
no bloke ever thought, that's what I dream of. That's the life I dream of.
Well, see, I always say that about like when you get these morons, these socialist commie types who never know anything about history. That's why they're all like postmodernists. And they're all like, oh, the white man was oppressing us. And I'm always like, what do you think my great-great-granddad was doing in 1880 or whatever? He was down the mine, 12-hour shifts, crawling to work, like in the road to Wigan Pier, crawling to work. 12-hour shifts down a coal mine. And I'm like, do you think we were like lying on lounges drinking Mai Tais while they were like slavery was going on? I was like, it was shit for everyone.
Yeah,
wasn't it?
Try ploughing a field.
Everyone.
Try ploughing a field by hand with 2 horses and you trying to kind of keep a thing going. Like,
it was
not
shite.
for everybody. Not for everybody. And all you had was to eat all day was a mouldy sandwich with, I don't know, Branson pickle or some whatever.
Look at the workhorses, look at the workhouses and shit, like Oliver Twist and that. It's like, how do you think people, basically, if you were born before about 1930, your life was shite all the time? And they seem to make out like, Whitey was just playing tennis and drinking, drinking gin while they were working. I was like, how do you think we lived 100 years ago? It was shite.
Yeah, it was crap for everybody. For everybody.
Everyone.
But going back to your point, Matt, I just say, so they got all this kind of thing going. The women all went out to work, and then, of course, because they were working, they were too busy to have kids, so they stopped having kids, and they stopped raising kids, and all the important, very important, and that's the hardest work you can ever do. You have a brood of kids. Well, that's pretty much 24/7 right there.
Yeah, it's hard
That's the
graft.
hardest job you'll ever have. So,
Yeah.
but the problem is they stopped having kids. The demographics went skew ways. So you move on 10 or 20 or 30 years from that clan. Now you've got no kids. Your birth rate's in the toilet, right? Your
Yeah.
society is dysfunctional. And now suddenly the same guys that set this all up saying, what do you want to do now?
Mhm.
There's no third gender, despite what people say. There's no
There's 60. There's 60, isn't there?
there's no other gender we can release into the workforce. So what do? They panic. They say, listen, we'll just get people from Africa, India, Pakistan, wherever. We'll get them all in, and that'll, we'll just basically bring in ready-made adults. We don't even have to grow them. We don't even have to grow them anymore. We can just bring them in ready to go.
They can be hairy as soon as they arrive.
As you said, they could have a hairy arse, but that's probably even a benefit. I don't know. I wouldn't know about that kind of thing.
The thing is, though, they don't work. They don't work. All these blokes in Ireland, they're not working. You go walk down the street in Dublin now, there's loads of black fellas just sat getting pissed in the middle of the day. They're not working. Honestly, how many of the Boris wave are working? It seems like none of them are working. They just get benefits. Every time I read a story now about some migrant who's in trouble, it didn't work. None of them ever say, oh, so-and-so's been in Ireland for... I read one yesterday. Some scumbag who sexually assaulted some lass, broke into her house and attacked her.
Oh, you saw that,
Yeah, it didn't say he'd been working. They're always just on benefits. There was some guy who's been... There was a roving reporter walking around in Dublin asking people where they come from and that. And one of them, he'd been there for 4 years and he'd never worked. He said he gets like €300 every 2 weeks and he sits in a council house. They don't do any work anyway.
Yeah.
So it's bollocks.
And it didn't work anyway, even with going back to Merkel. This absolute, it was a crazy decision. It didn't work for her because she opened the floodgates and said, oh, we have to help these Syrians. Now, of course, everybody became a Syrian. If you were from Pakistan.
Everyone, Moroccan.
The Congolese,
aren't even
they were all Syrian. So they brought all these millions of people in, thinking, look, this is going to sort out our labour shortage. But the problem was it didn't. Because number one, most of them didn't want to work anyway. They had no intention of working for Volkswagen or anybody. And number two, even though the German government, I believe, gave massive incentives, to all these big BASF and Volkswagen and all these big companies to take on these new people. And they came back a year or two later and they hadn't taken up all the grants. So they went and they said to them, look, what's the story here, lads? You're not availing of all this money. And the answer was, look, there's nothing we can do with them. There's literally nothing we can do with them. A lot of them are can't read or write even in their own language. Yeah, they're illiterate. And we don't even need people to sweep the floors anymore. We have a machine for that. So what do you want? They couldn't employ them. There was nothing they could give them. They couldn't even put them on a machine or a line because they might break something.
Yeah, they're a liability. They're a liability.
Yeah.
Doing nothing is better than fucking something up.
Yeah.
So if I've got a choice between hiring an illiterate inbred or just having nothing, I'll take nothing. Yeah. I'd expect if I was like a garden business, there's something you'd think it'd be easy. And I'm going, you can help me be a gardener. Next thing he's like stuffing a puppy into the wood chipper or something. I go, oh, they don't go in there. Like, he'd do more harm than good, wouldn't he?
That's the problem. And, this might have looked good on paper. I don't know who came up with the plan, but I thought, listen, we're no kids anymore. There's no kids coming forward. And, a lot of the men that's coming forward are feminized into oblivion. So they're not much use. So we'll just bring in a load of people, like as if, it's just a spare part. You can pluck somebody from the back arse of Bangladesh and stick them in London or Birmingham or Dublin or wherever it is. And it's just like, it's the same thing really, isn't it? As if we grew on our own. It's not the same. It's not.
That's why we're shagged, isn't it? Because our politicians, they only think of the short term because it benefits them. And that old saying, like by Aristotle or whoever, about planting trees whose shade you'll never sit in, they don't do that anymore because they're just short termists. Like, how much money can I get while I'm in and then I leave?
5-year terms. 5-year terms. They don't.
And so Boris Johnson's a classic example, right? Biggest traitor ever, like worse than Blair. He ran on a platform promising to sort immigration out, and he let in, I think it was the most ever. It was 7% of the population in 3 years. So he's done that because they've gone, oh, this will keep inflation down. This will help in these little ways, but only for like 3 years. And then you've got them there to deal with for the rest of your life. So they'll cost you 100 billion. Every one of them costs us 600,000 or 700,000, and then they all have kids. They're literally going to cost you 500 billion, ruin your country, and give about 8 million women a severe limp when they get one donkeyed into them on a Saturday night. But he goes, oh, but it'll be good for me for 3 years. So they do it. And that's what every politician does. Short-termism. It's like, as long as I'm all right, ruin the country forever. And and I'll tell you one thing you said there that really resonates about not having kids. Because I was arguing with my wife about, well, not arguing, I was just more militant than she
Discussing.
Yeah, but because she was saying all these things about, but we're not having kids though. And I was like, yeah, but honestly, right, we don't have kids. I'm 46, she's 7 years younger than me. But to me, at least, a large amount of it is concern about the future. And I said to her, honestly, I think one of the main things that plays on people's mind about not having kids is the immigrants. Like, I wouldn't want to have a daughter now if I lived in Dublin. I'd be terrified if I had a 7-year-old kid in Ireland or England now. Look at what happened in the Southport atrocity, dried up more fanny lips than any 10,000 benefits payments. Like, you'd be terrified, wouldn't you? So I'd be scared of having this whole thing about, we need them because they're not having kids. I think one of the many root causes for us not having the kids is the migrants. What do you think? Like, a lot of millions of Irish women are surely now a little bit more hesitant about having kids. Even ignore the money and everything else. One of them factors has got to be, are my kids going to be safe? Are they going to get attacked? Are they going to get killed in a school? Are they going it's got to be a factor, hasn't it? About
absolutely, without a doubt, there's no question of that. Like that's what I said to you at the start. We have managed to engineer a dysfunctional society. It's dysfunctional. Like they, all these newfangled, we've just made them up yesterday in the university ideas about let's create a whole new society and throw out everything that numerous previous generations knew and did. They throw it all out. We're going to do. We've completely reinvented society, and guess what? It doesn't work. It doesn't actually work in real terms.
And hilariously, this is what blows my mind: is we all learn as children that if you do something and it doesn't work, you should stop doing it. Do something as a boy that's stupid, you go, I won't do that again. We've realised, especially the feminists. Oh, I've got a button for the feminists. Hang on. The feminists.
You stupid slag!
I thought you might have one for that. I just had an inkling that you might have had a button for that one.
But the feminists, right, they've been depressed for 40 years. Like, every generation of women since the 60s has been more depressed, right?
Yeah.
And they keep doing it. Like, they go, oh, we're all depressed. And my mum was depressed and my granny was depressed. Why are they depressed? Well, they're depressed because they don't get married and they don't have kids and they take loads of drugs and they put a coach ball through the tongue and a daft bull ring through the nose and dye their pubes purple.
10 tattoos.
So you go, oh, really? So what are you going to do? Well, I think I'll get 10 tattoos, dye my fanny and not have any kids or get married. It's like, we know why we're unhappy, but we keep doing it.
But look, back in my day, where there was just a sea of kids everywhere. Great, wonderful time. And you could, your mother would just hunt you out of the house. She wouldn't want to see you. She wouldn't want to see you until it was tea time. She wouldn't want to see you. She'd hunt you back out if you came back early. But the women back then, and because you go to friends' houses and kids' parties and all that sort of jazz that you do. Look, the women back then were so busy with doing all that world of women stuff, which was, as I said, the hardest job you could get. They didn't have time to go marching for Gaza. Yeah. They didn't have time to go marching because some family, as we had here, from South Africa / Nigeria, was getting deported and there was a child involved. They didn't have time for all that stuff, that nonsense. They were too busy doing basic, important...
living.
Yes.
Living.
And now... They've no kids. They might have a cutesy little dog that they put a jumper on occasionally to keep them warm. That's what they're doing. They have loads of time and they've no kids. And all this empathy, this suicidal empathy, gets lavished on migrants or black people or whatever the cause of the day is.
Anything to keep you busy,
Yeah.
Well, this morning I walked downstairs. My missus is on a laptop. I glance over her shoulder. It's the monkey in Japan. You know that monkey they're all going on about? What's he called? What's his
What's
name?
his name? Yeah, the
Daft-
one that's
I put it
yeah.
on my Twitter. I'm sick
he-
of reading about it.
He gets bullied and
Punch,
everything. He's
punch the monkey.
punch the monkey. Yes,
So-
he's yeah. They're everybody's watching now.
So I go downstairs and she's reading that on a laptop. I look and it's like, we tried to give Punch the Monkey a new toy monkey, but he doesn't like his new toy monkey. And I was like, this is news now. Punch the fucking monkey doesn't like his toy monkey. Back in the day, there'd have been playing with the kids, having a gin, living. Now sitting there reading about Punch the Monkey, it's like we've got too much free time in our hands. We're not breeding for the aforementioned reasons. And all jokes aside, I don't want to bring the conversation down, but I will be serious for one moment. I'm never serious.
Go ahead.
I had a revelation while discussing this with the family, basically, and I realised one of the big reasons I don't have kids is because I'm a barbarian. I've got no emotions because my mum died when I was a kid. She had breast cancer, so she died when I was a bairn. So I got raised by my dad. And then we're just a testosterone-fueled family. Like, every person who's had kids, my brother's got 2 boys, my cousin Lee's got 2 boys. There's no women. My Nana Hilda raised us after my mum died. And she was like, there's no women in this family. Like, where's... And she had sons. There's no lasses. So I was just raised by men in the Northeast to be manly all the time, and I have struggled with that. My wife and my mother-in-law, like, you are just a barbarian. Like, anyone cries, I'm like, oh, God, I hate this. Like, I don't like to be touched. Like, I'm a very manly man. And I realized that one of the reasons, the primary reason I never had kids and I've always avoided it is because I was told I always had to be the toughest guy in the room. Like, my dad, it sort of pathologized me. Like, I don't cry. I'm always hard all the time.
Yeah.
And I realized if I had a kid, I would be vulnerable. So it could unman me. I feel like, because I'm not a sociopath. Like, I'm a people person, and I do like people, and I have empathy. And I realised that if I had a kid and something happened to that kid, that would probably unman me. So I'd rather avoid the risk. And it makes me think of one of my favourite characters in fiction was Druss the Legend from David Gemmell. If you've ever heard of him. And he always said, when people say, why didn't you have children? He says, I wasn't strong enough to be a farmer. And that really resonated with me because I was like, whoa, that sounds like me. Like, I avoided it because of risk. And this takes me back to what I'm saying. Like, I am convinced that, yes, it's about money and it is about other things. But one of the reasons is that it's like nobody really feels safe like they did in the 50s and the 60s. So I do think that is a massive factor in this. And if we want women to start wanting children again, it's not really all about the money. You always struggled with money and you always soldier on. All of our parents did. They were never rich, but they still cracked on and had loads of kids. You're like, we'll find the money. It's not about the money. It's the cultural thing. I don't think Irish people, English people, all of the West, I don't think the women will start breeding again until they feel part of a safe, happy, healthy community.
Well, that's absolutely true. Yeah, totally agree.
And that's my opinion. And I'm being honest, Ellie. I think I'm too much of a coward to have children because I'm so obsessed with being the tough guy in the room. That concerns me. And I think that is being aped by tens of millions of women in Western Europe. I really do. I think that if you don't want to have a kid and bring it into a world that's not as good as the one you had.
Yeah.
And whenever I've thought about it, my missus is still on the fence, so maybe she's younger than me, but probably not. I'm always like, it's not going to be as good as when I was a bairn as well. If I can't bring him into a world that's as safe and as happy, I told you about the story when I was a bairn and I got lost in a little town, Stokesley, and I lost my mum, and I started crying when I was like 4. So the old ladies just picked me up, took me into the baker's, put me in the window, give me a sausage roll, and I was loving life, just sat there scranning me sausage roll. And then my mum comes back 5 minutes later, look, she's like, she's going mental in the window. And that was the community we had. Like, everyone knew each other. You could leave your kids out in the streets roaming around for 12 hours a day. I don't think it's money. I think it's culture and sort of society and trust and all of that. I don't think it's about money. I think we've never had loads of money.
No, well, and certainly in Ireland, we had no money. No money at all.
Skint.
And like both my grandparents' families had over 10 in each. Like, that's a lot of cousins. That's a lot of cousins.
That's very stereotypically Irish, that, isn't it?
But, okay, so by the time it got round to my parents, we were kind of 4, 5, 6. Okay, it was dropping off a bit. But what you're saying there is absolutely correct, because we lived in a world, at least when I come into the frame, where there was a structure. Society kind of had a structure. There was a plan, and everybody knew how the plan worked, where you fitted, and if you worked hard, you did your best. There was a place for you. There was a place for you. You could find a woman. You could settle there. You could get a home. It was in a safe part of the country or the town or whatever, and you worked and you did your thing. Everybody knew the game because there was a framework. There was a structure to society. But, and mainly this is the feminists, they wanted it all torn down. We want it all gone, because men and women used to be kind of, as I said, two different worlds, and they worked together to make something brilliant. But the feminists said, no, it's not men and women, it's men against women and women against men. They turned the sexes into competitors. Now, I remember the whole battle of the sexes trope back in the 70s, and it was always played for laughs. It was a joke.
Yeah.
It was so it was always a part of some comedy show, the battle of the sexes. But the battle of the sexes turned into a real battle of the sexes. Where it wasn't just a jokey thing that everybody could have a chuckle at. It became an actual war where now suddenly we, men and women, are competing against each other in society, which I don't think is healthy. Not for making couples and families.
Totally agree with you. Yeah, well, look at like Faulty Towers, like the crack he has with his missus. like I'm like that. Again, we're probably both like that because we're older. Like, you have a crack with your missus, like I'll slap our lass's ass, get the kettle on, sugar tits. That's not a problem. It's like, it's a crack. It's just having a laugh.
Yeah.
And it's like, this is gone now. There's no humour. And I've joked about this loads of times. I tell all the women who follow me, I was like, here, if you're ever on one of these apps you're all on nowadays, and you get a bloke who's like me, like a sort of 40-year-old who acts like a boomer, and he's like, oh, I like football and tits, nice one. I was like, they're like more likely to be a good husband because they're honest. Like, they'll be a little bit sexist if that's the verbiage you use, because we are a little bit from that generation. They'll be a little bit sexist, but they'll be normal and you'll have a good crack with them. Yeah. Whereas if you see one who's like, I am an ally, LGBTQ+, I was like, honestly, he's going to have Rohypnol in your drink, and you're going to wake up chained to the radiator, getting bummed 7 days a week in his little dungeon. Like, it's so obvious, isn't it, that like in nature, that's what they do. The trapdoor spider hides and jumps out on you. They're all camouflaged. The camouflage now is putting a pink pussy hat on and saying, I'm an ally, I'm with her. Like, all the sex offenders. It's like a modern day thing, isn't it? Like back in the day, they used to say all the priests were pedos. Yeah. Now, all the sex offenders have I'm with her t-shirts on. Like, and the ones who won't do that here are the ones who'll be like, all right, sugar tits, wolf whistling builders. If I was a woman, I'd be like, I'll go out with a wolf whistling builder. Yeah. He's not as likely to Rohypnol me. No. Some guy who's like, I'm with her.
Because he is what he is. And he's and he tells you up front, this is me, this is what I think, this is what I do. There you go. Yeah. And it is, and he's not lying to you. He's not lying to you. Whereas all these beta males, these beta cuckolds who orbit around these pussy marches and all these pink hat thingamajigs, they're only beta males trying to get laid, essentially.
Yeah, I know.
And that's their strategy. I'll just go and pretend I'm a feminist. And they, as you say, are in a lot of times, not all. It's funny how we have to keep saying that.
Just most. I told you on my channel, I don't like the caveats. I don't like, because no one's thick enough to think you mean all. Like,
I know, but there are people out. Honestly, you're gonna have. There are people, and they're only. I don't know about your channel, but certainly they watch mine. They're always watching for me to slip up and say something. Just misspeak or say something wrong or something that could be taken another way, and they're in like a pack of wolves for you. You have to be careful.
The actually, guys, have you seen the actually meme? I always use that. Actually, let me try and find a picture of him, because it's I hate them. Yeah, actually, as soon as you say anything, like, it is ridiculous.
I've had 3 videos banned in the last 2 weeks. And only banned in Ireland. Not only Ireland. Nowhere else.
Really?
Just Ireland for hate speech.
That's a bit weird. Look,
For hate speech.
actually, that guy. Like, there's
To be
loads of
seen-
them on the internet, isn't there?
To be seen at every feminist march too, if you're looking for them.
Yeah, actually, I do hate that. Yeah, that's the pedants online. It's the other thing is as well. The internet allows stupid people to pretend they're clever because they've got Google there. They're like you know, I actually know stuff like because you know I like to read. So like I actually know like I don't know about the Peninsula War. I love military history. Whereas
What do you think of the
actually
Sharp
guys,
series? What do you think of the Sharp series?
fantastic. Like I love all that stuff.
I bought that box set years ago, and I watched it first time round. You know, you remember when they could actually make TV and a series with real men in them? Do you remember them days? Do you remember those far
amazing.
off days? And I loved it so much, and I bought a few years ago. I bought the whole set. Brilliant stuff. Brilliant
Amazing.
stuff.
Honestly, I'll tell you what, right? I'll give credit where it's due to Bernard Cornwell and the guys who made the TV show. That show made me a Hibernophile, and it made me love Irish culture again because when I was a teenager and I went to South Armagh, I think I told you this. It had a lasting effect on me as a young man because you really, when you're young, you're stupid. There's loads of testosterone. You don't think too much, and you don't know anything. This is why it's hilarious how they keep getting lower with the voting age. It's like, who looks at a 16-year-old and goes, "There's a clever bastard"? Like, we're all idiots when we're 20. That's how like terrorists get started, isn't it? They're all. I always tell everyone this: you never get a 48-year-old suicide bomber. They're always kids. The imams are like, "Go and blow yourself up, lads." Doesn't matter whether you're talking about Pyra or the Islamists or anybody else. Young lads are daft.
Yeah.
And my response to my first tour was South Armagh. I'm old enough to have done a tour out there. And I think I told you I was kneeling down outside the post office. And I'm a young sort of chirpy northerner who talks to everyone. And the lass come out the post office and I went, "Morning, love." And she went, "Fuck off, you Brit bastard," like proper. Had a go at me for no reason, right? And I was like, whoa, they kind of hate me, right? So for a while, I was a little bit bitter and twisted. I thought, oh man, the Irish really, really hate us. And it was only when I got older I realised, obviously, that's bollocks. It's where I was. It's where I was. You're not going to go to a random place in rural Ireland. They have an irrational hatred.
It wouldn't happen in Kerry. Wouldn't happen in Kerry.
Yeah. Especially because we're all related, right? It's like, you're not going to go, in 2026, it's your fault that there was a famine. Like, what? But after I watched that, it helped me get back on. I guess I watched them on DVD when I was bored in like Afghanistan or something. And
Sergeant Pat Harper had a big effect on you, did he?
And he did, yeah. He had a profound effect on me. I was like, what a nice fella. Like, so yeah. I love that show. It's fantastic, isn't it? It's
now, is this true? Now, you know more than me on this, but I've heard this, and you can confirm or deny it. The whole chosen men thing with the rifles and all that, they didn't actually operate in squads. It was kind of, they just peppered them around the place. In reality,
you pick them out in the army as a whole, really. He just picked the rifles for that thing because they are a really celebrated regiment. Like it was in Waterloo, the rifles kicked the arse of the Imperial Guard. And it's legendary history now. The Guard retreat was the cry went up. Yeah. And then they all legged it because the Guard never lost.
Yes.
But, so, that's why they picked that regiment.
Oh, it's fascinating history. I mean, I love all that. Yeah, I love all that stuff too. I would watch that all the time. There's some great channels on YouTube that they have the kind of, these kind of, they do all the reenactments of, you can see the things moving on the board and all that. Very, very well done. I love seeing all that stuff.
Hornblow's good as well. Have you ever watched Hornblower?
No, I didn't see that one.
Really good.
I often meant to watch it and just never got round to it. It's one of those, it's on my list. It's on my list.
Yeah. Well, like I said to you, honestly, you can take a lot of pride in that as an Irishman. This is what I'd tell a chippy Irishman if you've got like a sort of chippy Republican type. As like, listen, we all got press ganged. If they're like, oh yeah, the Irish are kind of acquitted themselves so amazingly and they were the backbone of the fighting ranks and all this, but they were forced into it. I was like, yeah, we were all forced into it. My ancestors, well, some of them will be Irish, but also, even if it was in the northeast, where do you think they got them into the Navy, for example? They'd get to the bottom of a pint glass and there was a shilling at the bottom of it. Then you got a cosh around the back of the head and then you woke up on a boat and you were there for 2 years. Again, we were all getting fucked over by the powers that be.
And at the end of the day, it was a good living. It was, in a time where there was no work, which was most of the time in Ireland, it was actually a decent living, and you had a good chance of getting a woman as well. Yeah. So it was kind of win-win. If you're a lad, a farmhand, or not even a farmhand, you've number one, it's brutal work for a start. No fun in that. And then so you can you have this other option, which is, to take the king's shilling. And it was actually seen back in the day here as, well, look, it's something, it's a good
Well,
living. It's not a bad job.
I'm not being funny. I don't think it's even back in the day. I still think it now. Like, I joined up, like, because I was in Borough and I thought, granted, I wasn't totally impoverished, but if you're poor and working class and you're in a shitty northern town, you just go in the military, that'll be all right.
Yeah.
Also, I was driven to murder people. I don't have any false modesty there. I've talked about that. Like, you know why I joined up? I was thinking about it to get away from the borough.
Yeah.
But the main reason I joined up was the Luxor tourist massacre. I think that was
Really?
97. Honestly, I was working. I think it'll be 97. I'm sure of it. And I was working in a steel erecting company, like, because I was a 17-year-old lad in Borough, covered in coal dust, working on British steel. It was shite. And I was umming and ahhing about it, thinking it's got to be better than this. And then I read about that, and it turned my stomach. I was like, I want to murder these people. So, like, it really did. There's no noble reason for why I joined up. I was a daft teenager, and I read that and thought, I'd like to hurt these people.
So you had a certain set of skills.
Yeah.
You had a set of skills that they might find useful.
I didn't join up for noble reasons, but I guess what I'm getting at is I think even in this day and age, the military-industrial complex is a thing. If you're poor and, you're from a poverty-stricken area and you've got nothing better to do, I mean, you join to get a full belly, don't you? And that's what Pat says on Sharp, right? He joined up so he gets something to eat.
Yeah.
It's like we still do it now, really. The military-industrial complex is still a thing.
Have you noticed something, and I'm sure you have, because you're an astute fellow, when the last few years, especially in America, and I think in Britain to a degree as well, that we don't really have a whole lot of military ads here for obvious reasons. There was a whole thing of they were promoting women, transsexuals, homosexuals, Muslims, gays, two spirits, people with pink hair, and they were filled. The ads were full of all those crazy stuff. Even I remember the British Army one. Where the patrol stopped.
The praying one, unbelievable, isn't it?
Because the Muslim member had to pray. Said, okay, all right, fair enough. But now, all of a sudden, in recent times, I have noticed that all the ads are full of white men. Have you noticed that?
I know. That is hilarious. Yeah.
Wonder why?
So for years, it was always like, here's Akbar. Oh, I like to pray in the army. Like, ridiculous. And in America, do you remember the one they did in America? It was the woman, like a cartoon of a woman, and she joins up. She's got two moms and all that.
That's right. Yeah.
Every advert, I told you, one of my favourite Twitter accounts is Blacks in Irish adverts for some reason. That's what it's called. Blacks in Irish adverts for some reason. And all of a sudden, it's kicking off in Ukraine.
Yeah.
You finally see an Irish advert, and it's loads of white blokes.
Yeah.
Join the army. It's full of white fellers. It's like, oh, this is weird. How stupid do they think we are? Like, they genuinely think we're morons, don't they?
It's so on the nose. It's so on the nose. And what everybody is saying is, okay, so you want to send all us native blokes off to war. Who's going to be left at home with the women?
It's not even a conspiracy theory. It's proven fact. Robert Jenrick got caught, didn't he? They sneaked in 16,000 Afghans. So I was sending him messages on Twitter. I was so angry about it. I was like, let me get this straight. You sent me to Afghanistan twice, and while I was there, you were secretly shipping the Afghans over to roger all the English women. I was like, have I got it right? Is that basically what we did? Yeah, it is. So yeah, all the adverts now, same. Finally, I'm seeing some British Army adverts where everyone in them is white. Weird, that, isn't it? Weird.
Oh, who could possibly figure out why?
Yeah, it is. We've got the right idea, though. You have to laugh. Like, it's so ridiculous. I find it genuinely hilarious how stupid they think we are. Like,
but that's why we need to keep shouting this stuff out, because the mainstream media is bought and paid for. You know this. They're just basically mouthpieces of both governments now. They're not. There's no journalism there. So all people have really to get a half dose of truth is the likes of you and me just telling it as it actually is. Like, we'll say all this stuff because it's true. It's true.
I know. And like one of my dad's favourite sayings, right? You can never make an honest man into a liar. Doesn't matter what they say, doesn't matter. That's what I keep saying. You don't have to be an orator. You don't have to be a legendary, charismatic orator. You just have to be right and telling the
Yeah.
truth.
Yeah.
As I said to you, Biden, the classic was when, because these boomer politicians haven't caught up. They still think it's like the 1920s, like the Clintons and the Bidens and the Trumps, all of them, I suppose. They still think it's like you can lie your ass off, but as long as you own the media, no one will find out.
Yeah.
And that was true when Biden was 40. Like, if he flies to California and says one thing, and then he flies cross country and goes to a red state and says the exact opposite, if the media didn't tell anyone, it wasn't on the wireless, nobody knew.
Yeah.
So he did that. He flew out to Texas. I've told you this, I think. And he says, "You're damn right we're going to take your guns." I'm quoting him. He says, "You're damn right we're going to take your guns." And here's the man who's going to take them. And Beto O'Rourke comes out on a skateboard. And all the Democrats are clapping him. True story. Like, ludicrous. This is the society we've created. Moron politics.
Have you seen the latest one? You probably have seen this from the Denton and Gorton by-election.
Unbelievable. I did a stream about it yesterday.
Did you? Where the Green Party, who were doing all these big ads in Urdu for the Muslim, but the campaign they ran in Urdu had no reflection on the campaign they did in English.
Yeah.
Did you see that?
Unbelievable. Yeah, it is. Yeah,
they left out all the gay stuff, the transsexual stuff on. Oh no, don't put that in Urdu. No, we leave that out.
Definitely don't put that bit in. It's hilarious, isn't it?
No, it's upside downward. Yeah. It's crazy.
Yeah. The thing is, they think that because it's in Urdu that they won't know, but it's visual, like it's video. So on the English one, they're going to see him dancing with rainbow flags. Boy George is there in the background, like, oh, wait. And then the Urdu one, we're very straight-laced people, agreed, yeah. We just like praying and shit.
Look, we know how this story ends. You and I know how this story ends. Iran 1979.
Exactly.
All the Zach Polanskis were suddenly frog marched up tall buildings. And that's how that ended. That's how that ended.
I know. But again, these people don't know history, so we tell them. But the people who we're telling already know, because conservative-leaning people do read the books.
Yeah.
The lefties don't listen to us. They go, oh, blocked, don't want to know. So,
it's all there.
It's all there. They always make an unholy alliance with the left, and then they wait until they're in a position of power, and then the left get ditched off a roof. Yeah. So I was like, listen, if you're that thick, you kind of deserve it. I was like, I'm not saying it's a good thing, but I take solace from the fact that if you're as thick as dehydrated whale semen, maybe you deserve hoying off, because we tried to tell him. Owen Jones is going to be the only one surprised when they're leading him to the top of the car park roof. Everybody else is going to be going, of course, Owen. What did you think was going to happen, you dopey twat?
It's crazy. I was watching a thing the other day with Peter Boghossian doing an interview, and the cameraman went berserk because he said something triggering. But he brought the cameraman on, in fairness to him. And he's
triggering.
Yeah. Super woke. Typical type guy, and he was telling, open borders, we bring everybody in, it's all going to be great. And Peter Boghossian said, listen, my sincerest hope for you, and I mean this sincerely, is that you get the world you're hoping for.
Yeah. Like, but this is what, when I did my video taking the piss out that video in Gorton and Denton, I was like, there's an old woman there, right, who goes, oh, Labour's terrible, I voted for the Greens, they're brilliant. Why did you vote for the Greens? Oh, everything's terrible. I shit you not, this is what she said. She goes, everything's terrible. So why did you specifically vote for Greens? Well, immigration. I was like, they literally go out and tell everyone. You can't make that up, can you? Like, they're even thicker than the relative rattlers. Like, if you're the most inbred moron, but you don't care about anything in life other than exterminating the Zionists. Let's just say you're a proper dragged up on this Gaza Strip. Can't read, can't write, but you've got one goal in life, and it's to eradicate them. And they go, here, put this backpack on that's full of explosives. He at least understands one thing in life, which is he's got a nice, simple plan to achieve his aims.
Yeah.
If you're dumb enough to be living in the Western world and you sit there and say with a straight face, oh, I voted for the Greens because we've got to sort immigration out, you are beyond help. Like, that guy is smarter than you.
No, I saw your
unbelievable.
I saw your tweet the other day, and it struck me about the whole Afghan thing, the Taliban, and all that. Now I know you have a particular history there, and a proud history
with those boys. Yeah,
a proud history there, a proud history. But you were saying, and something I actually chime with, because the thing about the crazies, the Taliban, the lefties, the Greens, they actually say what they believe. They say, no, we are crazy. and
They're
we're going to do
honest.
all this stuff, and they
Yeah.
are actually genuine,
Yeah.
like the communists. They're genuine. They said, "Yeah, we are going to do all this stuff because that's what we believe." Whereas you look at the likes of the wishy-washy set, they never tell you what they believe. You never know what they believe, and anything they say you can't believe anyway because they
Yeah.
keep flip-flopping. Whereas with the crazy people, the Taliban, you appointed, look, you always knew where you stood with them. You
Yeah,
always knew where you stood.
which is why I said that. Like, I've always preferred them. I prefer Jeremy Corbyn to Boris Johnson. I'm like a concert. I voted for Boris Johnson, moron. Yeah, you live and learn. I prefer Jeremy Corbyn because at least Jeremy Corbyn's never hid what he is. The
And you can-
Greens,
Yeah,
they
you can
tell
hate
you
them.
what the.
Yeah.
You
You
know,
can
the
hate
ta-
them and
tell-
disagree with them, but you cannot argue. At least you know what you're going to get. You know what
Exactly.
you voted in Boris, and well,
The exact opposite of everything he said. The fat porridge-faced
Yeah.
albino. This is unbelievable. Like,
you have a button for that one, though.
I know I haven't. I need one for Boris. I hate him. That's what I tell everyone now. I'm like a battered wife. Like, I voted for Boris, so I hate him more than like anyone else. It's so weird, like, because it's like a rejected lover or something. Like, I hate him more than any of them because I voted for him and he did the exact opposite of everything he ever said.
What
So
do you reckon?
I absolutely hate him.
What do you reckon about this Rupert Lowe situation? I'm watching the whole Rupert Lowe thing with much interest. I have to say, with much interest.
Well, see, this is an interesting thing to talk about, isn't it? Because who knows? There's a million different opinions on this. I even disagree with most, I think, on the right online because a lot of them are getting all behind him. But I'm so completely black-pilled. I think he's got absolutely no chance. So I've said many times, much to the chagrin of many of my followers, I was like, listen, I like the guy. I'll never slag him off. But I committed to not slagging off Reform either. Like, I don't slag off Reform or Rupert Law or any of them. I don't slag off Advance. I don't slag off Homeland. I'll just happily see anything other than what we've got. But it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. Like, all these people who are like, oh, restore. It literally took the normies 25 years of Farage banging the drum to even know who he is. I've seen polls where, like, if you walk up to 100 people on the street and show them a picture of Rupert Law, like 95 of them don't know who he is. Like, I'm totally black-pilled. So my whole position on it is I'll support anything considered right. And then a week before the general election, I'll go all in with whoever has a sniff of winning it. But, Farage, yeah, Reformer, wet, yeah, they're probably totally going to renege on everything they've said. Yes, they're probably containment. But I won't slag them off because I'm convinced the normies, after watching that Gorton Denton video where the woman's saying, I'm concerned about immigration, so I'll vote for the Greens. I am black-pilled. I think the average voter is an imbecile. Nobody pays any attention. They're all too busy reading about Punch the Monkey. So I think we're totally shagged. Like, I think we're totally done. I think a political solution's never going to happen. I think Europe's going to become Eurabia. They block votes so dogmatically with the zeal that only a religious zealot can. While people like you and me and all the natives are like, football's on, or disagreeing, or we're all voting for 20 different parties. They are in total lockstep. All of them vote, sometimes more than once. All the wives and kids vote, sometimes more than once. All for the same people. They're in total lockstep. So they'll be able to take political power with about 30, 40% of the population. That's inevitable. I think the way it's going to get sorted out is the way you got to a peace process in Northern Ireland. I think it's going to kick off. I don't think a political solution is going to happen. I think people are so ignorant and so stupid, it's never going to happen. So I think Restore have got no chance, even though I'd prefer them to Reform. And I think Reform will do nothing about any of it anyway. So I think we're knackered, mate. I think hopefully by the time I'm old and knackered and on the way out is when it all totally kicks off. But I think it's going to get sorted the old-fashioned way. I do not think a political solution is possible in Europe now. I think they've already won and we just don't know it yet.
Yeah, I have to say I agree with you, and I said it today on a video, and I've said it other times. I don't believe myself. I don't believe we can vote our way out of this. I think it's too far gone. I think the whole democratic process is now so corrupted and so rotten as you saw with the whole family voting thing over at Denton and Gordon. It's just an abomination. The whole thing is so rotten to the core that I don't believe it's fixable. Here in Ireland, we have a so-called democracy, but it's not a democracy. Even the only difference between the opposition party, the main opposition, Sinn Féin and the other lefty loonies, and the lefty government, the only difference between the two parties is that one, Sinn Féin wants more of what the government's doing. There's no opposition at all. And the reason is that they control the media. And if you control the flow of information that ordinary people have, doesn't matter how clever you are. Like, there's very clever people in North Korea, but they still believe that Kim Jong-un cured cancer. You know? Why? Well, because that's all they hear on the news and in the news. So they're only as good as the information they have. And here, the system is so, as I said, rotten and so corrupted and so dysfunctional that no, I do not believe that there is going to be a democratic, old school democratic solution, because none of the parties are for changing. None of them. And as you say, even if reform get in next time around, or whoever it might be restored, I think that the machine of the civil service is now so entrenched, and that the politicians have literally given all the power away to it, that even if you do have a few firebrands in there that want to get stuck in, they'll grind them down. The system will break. Nothing will change. And the only way things, when they get that rotten, change is, well, we know
Chaos.
how. Yeah, it all breaks. The whole thing breaks.
So I'll break this up with something happy, right? The good news is, right, for people that like us who read history, is it'll all get sorted in the end.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
We got through World War I and World War II and Napoleon and Nagasaki and Hiroshima. It'll be all right in the end. But at the end of the day, it's a cycle. If you were mega lucky, this cycle you were born in 1950, right?
Yeah.
If you were unlucky, you were born in 1920 and you go through the big dust-up. It's a cycle. And this cycle, it's going to end in bother like they all do. There's going to be a massive conflagration and it's going to massively kick off and it'll get solved after that. But we're overdue. So the long term is it'll be fine in the long run, but it's going to massively kick off. And if you were mega lucky, you were born in 1950 and you'll probably be about flopping into your grave when it next boots off. Well done, you. Like Gandalf says to Pippin, where none of us chooses the time, Pippin. You're here. You know when he says, I wish I wasn't here. And he's like, well, so does everyone who gets caught in the dust up. Yeah. So, but I honestly, because I've said this loads of times, humans, we love to throw the line out, a prevention's better than a cure. But we don't do prevention because we're chimps with clothes on and we're thick. And when we're comfortable, we don't pay attention. And that's why the old cycle, the memes about, good men, strong men, weak men, there's 1,000 different ways of saying the same thing. The wheel of time, the cycle, whatever you want to call it. It's human nature. Like, everything gets fixed by conflict, not by talking. So we won't get out of it. There's no way. Like, the normies don't pay attention. As you said, they're not reading about geopolitics. They're reading about Punch the Monkey. Yeah. It's got the crime is through the roof. The immigration, it's broken. The Irish and the British people and all of the Europeans will not fix it.
No.
And seriously, like, I tell everyone this. Do you think there's going to be more or less scary, hairy third world men in 2027? What about 2028? What about 2029? Like, do you think there's going to, 2028 rolls around, all of a sudden, 10 million of them leave? The third world's not going to run out of people. There's billions of them. And there's morons, lefties, sat in Ireland going, we'll just keep on, integrating them. They'll never run out of people.
No, and they don't integrate. You know that. They don't integrate. Never. No. And multiculturalism as a concept, whenever it's been tried, never worked. It always led to civil war.
And Merkel said this 10 years ago. This is what makes me laugh. They're on Twitter now, MPs, like reform MPs, multicultural's a failure. I was like, boring. They were saying this 12 years ago.
Did Cameron even say something like that?
Yeah,
at some point.
Hug a hoodie. Yeah, what a twat he was. But it doesn't work. It doesn't. Diversity is our strength. It's the daftest thing I've ever heard. Like, why did the Roman legions find it so easy to kick everyone's ass? Because they were in lockstep.
Yeah.
Why can the
Yeah.
Muzzies win so easily in Gorton and Denton? Because they're in lockstep.
Yeah.
When everyone disagrees on everything, it's a shambles.
Yeah.
It's fucking ridiculous. On the face of it, it's a totally illogical thing to say, but it sounds nice or looks good on a T-shirt. So they go, diversity is our strength. How does that? If me and you were trying to, I don't know, put a tent up, your daughter's having a birthday party, we need to put a marquee up. If me and you tried to do it and you said, I'll tell you what, instead of communicating, let's just do shit because diversity is a strength.
Randomly.
We wouldn't get the tent up.
No.
If you said, you turn around and I'll turn around and we'll just do shit. We wouldn't get the tent up. Like, you can't have diversity and be it's ridiculous. You have to be in lockstep. You have to be communicating. You have to be on the same page.
But these lessons are all in history, Matt. You know that. There's
Again,
nothing new under the sun here because
no.
basic human nature has never changed. No matter how
Never.
much they'd like it to, it's still the same, really. When you boil everything down to its basic parts, we are the same animal we were 1,000 years ago. And these experiments always end up in bloodshed. They end up in civil war. They end up in carnage. They end up in catastrophe. And look, we know that. You know that as well as I do. Because all you have to do is pick up a history book from any era.
Yeah,
and just read what was going on. And it was tribes and other tribes and Romans and other tribes and barbarians and stuff. Always ended the same way.
True.
Eventually, some tribe or whatever rose to the top and crushed everybody else and said, right, now this is how it is from tomorrow. And that was it.
Yeah.
That was it.
Well, you know, and this is what I'm saying. You know this, again, we're conservative leaning, so we read. It's like, whenever you have had a grand unification, even then it's only been because they thought people were more different. Like, the English and the Scottish all hated each other, and then the French turned up and they went, actually, don't like them even more. And the only reason, if you go back even further, right, England never used to be one country. It was like Mercia, it was Wessex, it was Northumberland. There's all these, like, if you go back 1,500 years, 2,000 years, none of these countries existed. All these countries in all of Europe were all these multiple little principalities. Loads of them don't even exist anymore. That's what I laugh at when they're being snooty about the Americans. Like, oh, it's not even a real country. I was like, Prussia doesn't exist anymore. Half the countries in Europe weren't there 300 years ago.
Yeah.
I was like, you only get unity when you get bother.
Yeah.
So, like, how true is it? Like, look at this, right? So there is people in Ireland, Irish Republicans, who have a chip on the shoulder about the English, and they'd be like, oh, these wankers. What do you think they're going to do when 50 Somalian pirates turn up? They're not going to be like, oh, I much prefer these guys to the Scousers. It's like, it's the same thing, isn't it?
I mean, the people who are coming in, they want to destroy all of us. All of us. The English, the Irish, the Scots, the Welsh. They don't give a rat's ass about any of our society's histories, culture, heritage. They don't give a rat's. They're here to take over. And it's going to be Sharia a go-go from then on. And all our fabulous wealth of history that goes back thousands of years will just be flushed down the toilet. Now, I don't think that's a good plan myself, and I'm prepared to get in the way of that if I can. But this is the playbook. If you look at the history of Islam and how it spread, it wasn't spread by old grey-bearded men sitting under trees telling stories to kids. It wasn't spread that way. That's not how they work. And, you know, so like, that's the thing. We need to get our act together in these islands if we're going to have any chance, because otherwise, like, Egypt used to be 100% Christian once upon a time, and then it wasn't, you know. So,
well, and look at them in Spain as well.
Yeah.
And now you've got the Turks whinging about, did you see that? The Turks said they want back like 2 busts, 2 bronze lions from some like museum. I was like, I'll tell you what, give the Hagia Sophia back, then we'll talk, you cheeky bastards. Like, they've kicked our asses for years, and if it wasn't for the likes of Charlemagne and all these other battles, the gates of Vienna, it's like they would have took over. So this whole idea that diversity, it's like I said to you, it offends me. It's such a stupid, illogical thing to say. If we couldn't put a tent up if we had diverse ideas and opinions, how would you run a country that way? Like, you only get unity when everyone are more or less on the same page, to the point where, you know, like I said, we had conflict between European nations. And if you look at it now, you go, actually, they were almost the same. Like, we had so much bother with the frogs. We were on the same page with like 8 out of 10 things with them. It's like, you can't rub along with people that are totally alien. We struggle to rub along with the frogs and the Spaniards and the Germans. How are we going to rub along with blokes who think you should cave a woman's head in if she shows you her ankles?
But
Like, that's
look,
alien to us, isn't it? It's alien.
absolutely. But if you look at it another way, like there was always in Europe a lot of jostling for position, a lot of kind of competition. But what came out of that, apart from the obviously the bad stuff, was there was so much competition between the English, between the French, the Germans, or the Prussians,
Mm,
that the amount of advancement of civilization was off the charts because
yeah.
everybody was doing their damnedest to stay ahead and keep up and stay ahead and get ahead. That the competition was brilliant. It meant that the advancements in technology, the advancements in civilization were unprecedented. And what you have now, ironically, is you have the EU, which is basically anti-advancement.
Yeah.
It's like hyper regulated, hyper bureaucratic. It's an absolute shit show. And what it has done is it's made what was once the bastion of ideas and forward momentum, which was Europe, the continent of Europe. It has turned us into we all have to move now, thanks to the EU. I know
At a snail's pace.
at the speed of the slowest.
Yeah, the slowest. Yeah. It's a very
So,
good point, that. Because in it, they say, like, necessity is the mother of invention.
yeah,
Warfare led to invention because we were competing aggressively.
you had to. You had like
Now,
you guys had to keep up with the French. If they built a better frigate, you
yeah,
guys had to build a frigate that was twice as good as their best frigate. You
yeah,
know,
it's a really
so
good point. Yeah. So now, because of the EU, what you're basically saying is, it's like now if there's a giant egg and spoon race, and every country's there with their egg, and then they look at the very end, and Luxembourg's a mongoloid, right? He's called Mongo, and he's got a spoon velcroed to his head, right? They go up, up, up. We have to go at Mongo's speed. Like that's what we've done to Europe.
yeah,
Yeah.
it completely gelded, neutered it. Completely neutered it. You know, like for a continent that has such a huge part to play in the development of human history, which
Mhm.
Europe was, and Britain was a big part of that, of course. And even in Irish terms, when the Black Death came and all that stuff was going on, the Mongol hordes, a lot of the knowledge of Europe actually ended up in monasteries in Ireland at the very outer fringes of Europe, where it was preserved and
Mm.
kept safely till all that shit passed over. And then it kind of they disseminated it back in. So like we did
Mm.
play our part in ways, you know. So we all have proud histories and cultures that go back thousands of years. But the EU now has basically leveled the pitch to such a degree that we're like our economy when it was kicking off the EU project thing was the same size as the States, more or less.
Yeah.
It's now
Yeah.
half.
Yeah. It's
It's
bad,
now
isn't it?
half the size. Like
Yeah.
why? Was nobody asked why?
No. Well, and see, that leads to what we were talking about earlier about us being knackered. Like it's going to be it's going to be a confluence of multiple different factors that cause the big kickoff. So you got the mass migration, the total lack of cultural cohesion, the total disrespect of our laws and ways and traditions and our people, and then you're going to have the second big ingredient is the total collapse of the standard of living in the economy, because like it's really really obvious that Europe is out of ideas.
Mm.
Like they've got no clue how to get the economy sorted now, have they? They haven't
No,
got a Scooby Doo.
no, no.
There's no fix for it. And the immigrants are bleeding us dry. Did you see the cheeky bastard yesterday? Did you see that Merz, the German chancellor, went on telly and said like, "Oh, when you go to China, you see how much harder they work. If
Yeah.
Germans want to keep having a good quiet life, you've got to work a bit harder." It's like, really? When all the blokes you're importing don't do any work. If I was Hans there underneath a BMW with me spanner, and he's on the radio, I'm like, oh, I better do another 12-hour shift then, because Ikbari from Somalia needs to eat tonight. Like the cheeky bastards.
With his 4 wives.
Yeah.
Look, Germany is a basket case now, and I think I think that could be maybe one of the components of where the whole thing just implodes, because
Collapses.
Germany was always the engine. It was the engine of the bus, and
was,
they
yeah.
could kind of bail everybody out. They could pay for everybody if they got into bad shape. But now Germany itself, because of their stupid policies, obviously, you put the Greens into power in any nation and just just wait for the shit to happen. They
Yeah.
shut down their nuclear power. The whole Russian gas thing, the cheap gas is gone. All their factories are moving to Hungary and Poland just to get the hell out of there. The thing is a basket case of their own making. But if Germany goes south economically in the EU project, then who's paying?
EU's done.
Who's paying the bills? Because Britain's gone. Britain's gone already. So that leaves, and France is a basket case too.
France is really bad. France has got like an extra. UK's GDP to debt ratio is like 102%. France's is like 116 or something. Like basically, if we're doing it by nation, UK is like a disabled Downy. But France is like a bucket of snot. like I'm just pleased there's something worse than us. It's really bad. Like
there's something of the poet about you, I have to say. Something of the poet. you should probably look into that.
I'm good at analogies, yeah. But it is bad, isn't it? Like it's a basket case. Italy's really bad. Greece is really bad. Spain's really bad. Like basically, if the Germans go under, and it's inevitably going to happen. Well, that proves they're out of ideas, right? Because I just said they're out of ideas. The idea is work harder, Germans. That's their idea. Like they're already working. Like now their idea is work harder. Yeah,
they're desperately trying to get Ukraine into the mix. And Ukraine is a basket case itself. That's one of the most corrupt countries on planet Earth.
On the planet,
and they're desperately trying to get them in. Now, I reckon myself it is because they want the people. They don't give a shit about Ukraine. They just want the bodies. But Ukraine is so big that it could just capsize the whole boat if they bring it in. So there's a lot of things at play. But when it does, and I believe it will, same as you, I believe it will kick off. I just don't know when or where it'll kick off somewhere. But the difference, I think, is going to be on this time round, because these things always come round, is that we now have in all of our countries, Ireland, UK, France, Germany, we have influxed some of the most barbaric people on planet Earth.
Really bad, aren't they?
The Afghans, like people from Somalis, these people are barbaric, and you've been up close and personal, so you probably testified to this personally. They have a level of barbarism that would make Genghis Khan blush.
Yeah, Did you see the famous clip of when like Ross Kemp was with a load of them?
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah, the rape thing.
Yeah, and he said like what, and they couldn't even fathom like empathy. Like when he said, "Don't you feel bad about it?" They're like, "What? Because I might get a disease?" No, because you're like ruining a woman's life. Like it's alien to them, isn't it? Like empathy is alien to them. And that's what I'm saying. Like we have our feelings, because this is what I always use the analogy. Because like I said, I've been to these places, Sierra Leone, where they were necklacing them, putting them tied to a tree and melt a tire around their head. Oh, you shouldn't have done that. Why? I might have got a burn. No, you just tortured someone to death. Like it doesn't compute, because we were lucky enough to be raised in a society that was grown great because we were standing on the shoulders of giants, and we were told as children, be nice, share, watch Sesame Street. They weren't. They were told, if you can take it, you take it. And because of that, they haven't got the empathy's not even there. Like they don't. Like honestly, I'm not trying to virtue signal here. I'm not an amazing bloke, but I'm not a complete arsehole. Like if I did something really horrible to someone, I'd proper feel guilty about it. Like you wouldn't sleep at night if you did something awful to someone, would you? That's not even in their head. You say you shouldn't have done that, and they go, why? Because I could have hurt myself somehow. Like empathy, I wouldn't treat a rat like they treat people, especially women, because the whole book is about. It says in the big book of desert fables. I never say the K word or the Q. I have to spell it because you get banned for that. The big book of desert fables is my word for their whole.
Yeah.
If you read the big book of desert fables, I got an English translation when I was in Ghana's, and it says man is superior to the woman because God made one superior to the other. Like it tells them in the book that they worship more than anything else, that man's better than woman. So, of course, when they do that stuff to all those little white girls in Rotherham and Rochdale and Luton, in a way, you almost can't totally blame them, because they were conditioned to think, oh, yeah, these people are like, they don't deserve, like, well, good treatment. It says in my big book of desert fables that they're worthless and we can do whatever we want to them. So it's not entirely their fault, because they got brainwashed by the big book of desert fables to think that these people don't deserve any nice treatment.
And that came out in a lot of the court transcripts. They had no remorse, or very little.
None. Not at all.
They didn't see it as, okay, what's the big deal? Why is everybody getting so upset about this?
And the wives and sisters and brothers and that were there going, boo, and the judge was telling them off. Like, so that's what I'm saying. You and I know this because we're cynics. but it's like you can't work with that.
Yeah,
Like if they don't even have remorse, they can't work with it. We could work with the frogs and our like European chums. We'd have wars and we'd like shake hands. Like you watch like Hornblower, it's like, oh, good sir, you've sunk my boat. Oh yeah, let's shake hand, have a cup of tea. They were like civilized with each other. And Cornwallis in Washington, we beat him. He shook hands and walked off.
Well, that's
They
why
don't do that.
that's why the Geneva Convention was called the Geneva Convention and not the Botswana Convention, because there was a certain understanding that, look, okay, as bad as things might get, and they can get pretty bad, we still should at least have some ground rules that we could all play by. So, but there's none of that in certain parts of the world, nor even any thoughts about it or understanding of it. And so my fear is that, unlike our past troubles, which would have been kind of, between, say, extended family members, we now have large groups, large numbers of men, mostly young men, from these crazy parts of the world. And if you turn them loose, if they think, oh, right, no more law and order, no more this, that, and the other, well, I'll just revert to type.
Yeah.
And I don't think they'll give a shit about what happens or what they do. And that's my fear.
That story yesterday that I read about the one who broke into the Irish teenager's house, he was like going to burgle her. But then when he found out there was a pretty teenage girl in the room, he just savagely attacked her.
In the middle of the day. Dunshaughlin. The middle of the day, in an ordinary house.
But I was saying how like Pat made me into a hibernophile. Ubuntu Umbueto has turned me into a francophile because I spent my whole life going, damn the French, and now I read what these fuckers get up to. I'm like, ooh la la, mon ami. Like, this is what I'm saying. Like, I'd rather be trapped in an elevator with 20 Frenchmen for 10 years than spend a day in a room with some of these backwoods, illiterate inbreds who think not only is it perfectly acceptable to savagely sexually assault a young teenage girl, they don't even not feel bad about it. They think you're weird if you bring up the idea of feeling bad about it. So like where can you can't work with that, can you?
No, she was only, that unfortunate girl, 16-year-old, was only saved from a horrific event by her 13-year-old brother kicking the door in. He kicked the door of the bathroom in and stopped the whole thing. And then he was arrested. Now, I've seen today, and this will come as no surprise to you. I know this will come as no surprise to you. You ready for this?
Yeah.
They're already playing the mental health card. Already.
Oh, they're all mental, aren't they? They're all mental.
The guy was just, unfortunately, he was ill. He was sick. The man wasn't right. He wasn't mentally well. So, look, stop it with this. Stop it.
Bollocks, innit? Like, it's supposed to be rare. Now, everyone's a mental case. Like, when I was in school, you were in school, there was like one mental in the entire school. Everyone was like, oh, don't go near him, he's a mental. Now, everyone's off the tits. If you listen to the government statistics, well, like I said, I've made videos about the UK calling it Mong Island, right? Because on paper, it's Mong Island. It's something like 1 in 4 people's disabled and 1 in every 3's on mental health medication or something. It's like, that is not right. Like, when we were kids, it was probably 1 in every 100. Now, Dominic Frisby made a song about it, like, we're all mental now. We're all mental now. We're all mental. We're all mental. Because if you believe them, everyone's off the tits. It's completely backwards.
Back in our day, as you well know, it wasn't really cool to be mental. It wasn't really. It wasn't a sort of badge of honor. Whereas now, if you've got some ism, you get all kinds of goodies showered on you, and you get all kinds of benefits. Whereas back in my day, nobody wanted to be the crazy person, the mental kid. Nobody wanted to be that guy. So with the result that, as you said, there was only one guy in a class, maybe, who couldn't help it, who actually really couldn't help it.
Yeah, and we all used to torture him.
Yeah.
You know what you've reminded me of? Sorry, go on. Tell me.
Go on.
I was saying you reminded me of South Park, but we have to get to that because I'm sure I'll let your mother's crack. The South Park where the kids are all at school, and have you seen the one they do the tickets? Remember when the straight queer eye for a straight guy, and that's popular, and all the kids go to school, and you go to school the next day, and they're all dressed in like gimp costumes, like all these fetish stuff, and all the kids are in the playground, and they're having an argument. And one of them's like, I'm the most gay. And the other one's like, no, I'm the most gay. And one of the kids goes, I'm a catamite. Like,
I tell you, South
the
Park
kids
is
are
an
arguing about
institution.
it.
South Park is an institution.
I'm
Honestly,
saying,
they're going
what
to
you
write
just said-
encyclopedias about that.
But what you just said there reminds me of that, because you're saying, like, now the kids will be like, I'm the most mental. Like, you know, when we were kids, it was like, mental. Now they're like, I'm off my tits, me. You know,
it's cool to be on the spectrum, you know, and the further on the spectrum you can get, the cooler you are. And I think that's a bad plan for society, really. I don't think we should be. I don't think we should be aspiring to that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But go back to it. My mother used to say, whenever you'd see a kid doing something completely stupid, and you'd be laughing at them. You know, we would say, "Don't laugh at him. There could be something wrong with him." You know?
yeah, there could be, yeah.
Because that's the way, like, because it wasn't, you know, nobody wanted to have the child that was eating snails and stuff, or eating rocks and grass and stuff. So, because that meant there actually probably was something wrong with them.
Off it, yeah.
But now that's probably a thing you should do every day if you want to get into the cool groups. And I don't think it's good.
So think of that. What you said earlier about the EU is like, we all have to go at Mongo's speed, right? So they've promoted everyone going to the lowest common denominator. And then on the other side of it, they've said, you know what we should definitely do? We should all be fucking mental. That'll be good for us. Like, no wonder we're in the shit.
The EU has become the special needs class of nations.
Yeah. So no wonder we're in the shit. We're promoting everything that's bad.
Yeah.
And we're stamping out everything that's good.
Look, it can't. How can it ever end good? How can that plan ever end well? Ever?
Yeah.
We're going to promote the craziest people into positions of power. We're going to give, the wackiest people in our society the buttons to press, the levers to press for our judicial system, our government, and it's probably going to work out marvelous. Utopia is sure to arrive. No.
Unbelievable. Yeah.
No.
It's unbelievable. You know what I was saying about how, like, it's better to have nothing than harm. Like I said, a proper illiterate relative rattler from Somalia standing on my factory production line is way worse. I'd rather just have a potted plant there. Like, the plant will do nothing, but he will fuck it all up. That's how the EU is. Like, they'd be fine if they just got rid of all of them. We don't have to replace them with anything if you just got rid of the European Parliament and all the leadership. Belgium didn't have a government for years. I remember when I was over there, the Belgians were all laughing in the pub saying, like, oh, we're not even a real country anymore. We don't have a government. We don't know what language we speak. Yeah, fuck it. And Belgium was fine. Sheffield, remember when that pervert got thrown out? Jared Summit. And Sheffield didn't have an MP for years. Like, well, not years, but a long time. It was fine. Like, we'd be better off with nothing than what we've got. Because all their policies is, go to Mongo's pace, promote being mental. Like, everything they do is harmful. So we'd have more of a chance if we just got rid of it all. We don't have to replace it with anything.
Well, the US military, I believe, has as part of their rules and regulations, you can't be below a certain IQ or they just won't let you in. Doesn't matter how big you are or how tall you are or how strong you are. No, sorry. We've come to the conclusion through research, scientific research, that if you have an IQ below, I don't know what, 70 something or 80 something, really there's nothing we can give you to do that won't be more risk to the people around you than the enemy. So we just can't take you. We can't take you. So, and I think that's a very good policy. I think it is. Now, if only our governments here in the West applied the same mentality, I think we'd be far better off. Nobody below a certain IQ should be anywhere near that place. Hello, AOC.
It's amazing.
Diane Abbott.
Oh, God. Lammy's the best.
David Lammy. Yeah.
Have you seen my Lammy clip? He's a good one.
If it feels like neighbourhood policing has vanished, it's not around you. We haven't seen a police while I've been here, and I've been here for a little while now.
That's real. That's not AI. Like, he was saying that with a copper stood behind him in a bright yellow vest.
He's the gift that keeps on giving. He really is. He's the gift that keeps on giving. But, a modern high-tech society should have... that lad should never have gotten in the door. Whatever door he got in, he should have immediately turned around and pushed back out. Because he's doing you no favours over there, guys. He's doing you no favours.
It's DEI, isn't it? DEI. It is. Like, they are putting them in these jobs. And they'll be doing it in Ireland. They'll be doing it everywhere in Europe now.
They are. We are awash with it. Awash with it.
Yeah. I bet they're doing it. Are they doing it in the police department in Ireland? Like in the
Yes.
Gardaí, they're doing it.
Yeah, yeah.
Because in the Metropolitan Police, I made a video about that. They just turned around and said, oh, we have to have 50% women. And it's
Yeah.
like, yeah, but most women don't want to be a copper. It's a more of a masculine job. Just like most men don't want to be a primary school teacher. Like, you can't have a society working off mathematical equations like this is going to be 50% women, this is going to be 50% blacks, when humans make their own decisions. So by definition, if they've said we're going to take 50% of women, if you're only at 49% and there's no women left, if one comes in proper, like Stephen Hawking, oh, well, you're hired, love. Like, in it, because you've decided on this mathematical equation, and that's what they're doing in the Met, and that's how you get people like Lammy or Abbott in these positions. Abbott, remember that one? Abbott's maths. Like, she's an absolute mong. But they were like, oh, we need a black woman. Get her in. So are they doing that in Ireland with the coppers? Are they doing that with the Garda in Ireland?
Yes. They're doing it absolutely everywhere here. They're doing it. The political parties have to field at least 30% female candidates, or they get no funding at all from the government, because every big parties get funding or whatever. But if you don't have at least 30% women on your tickets, gone. No funding for you. The civil service is the same. The police is the same. The army is the same, I believe, but I'll have to check this. The army is now only recruiting female officers because there isn't enough female officers. So there's no men getting hired for them jobs. It's crazy stuff.
That is mental, in it. So that is like, again, back to what we've said about only, having Mongo in charge. It's like, it really is. That is like, so the Irish, like everybody else, is like legislated to be anti-meritocracy.
Yeah.
Because again, you think of it, this is what I mean. I'm always trying to make a joke, but I am serious. If you're in like a little town in Ireland, like a little village, and there's only about 400 people, and they go, all right, we have to have 5 women join the coppers now. And then they're like, oh, yeah, but most of them are like employed already, and most of them are, a lot of them have got kids, and they don't want to do a dangerous job, blah, 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 go through everything. Now, there's just, we haven't got them. We literally only had 4 applicants. So then you'd be like, we need one more. You croaks the streets until you find like she could be the biggest mong in the village. It could be literally the village idiot. And they'll be like, oh no, have you got tits? Quick, get her in the van. Like, you're not just an anti-meritocracy. It's like you're forcing a cacocracy. There you're going like, we literally have to have a woman. We haven't had any applicants. The next one who walks through the door is being a copper. I don't care what she is. I don't care if she's the thickest woman on planet Earth. She's being one because we need the numbers. That's what you do when you put this mathematical bollocks in. Instead of just doing what we used to do, which is just like, don't have any fear or favour, any prejudices. Just let everyone apply, and whoever's the best gets the job. That's gone.
Look, as soon as you go off the gold standard, which is meritocracy, to me, that is the gold standard in anything you're doing, no matter what field or sphere it's in. As soon as you deviate from the gold standard of meritocracy, you are screwed. You're screwed. Maybe not that day, maybe not that month or year, but you are going to your system's going to collapse, because you'll just end up with waves and waves of ever stupider people who are getting hired on ever more stupid criteria. So now it's like, no, we don't have anybody with a gammy leg. We have to get somebody with a gammy leg in here.
Yeah. Get me a cripple.
we don't have any South American pygmies. What? No, we have to have at least 2 for every 100, but there isn't any. So you end up in crazy town very fast.
It'll be, you know what? It'll be worse in places like in rural Ireland because there's less minorities. Like if they say, like honestly, if they say like, oh, we have to have 20% minorities, and it's in a little town in Ireland where there's like 2, then both of them are getting in the police. Like, oh, you're black, you're joining the police. First of all, it's a little bit authoritarian if you force people to do jobs that they didn't perhaps want to do. And second of all, it's anti-meritocracy in it. So if you're in a little town in Ireland and they've decreed that you have to have 20% ethnic minorities on the police force, then every single ethnic minority that applies is definitely getting in, even if they can't read and write. And there was a story about that. Did you see the one in England where that actually happened, where there was a Met copper who was like he had convictions for sex offences and they let him in anyway.
I think I saw that. Yeah, I think I saw that. Yeah.
So it's happening.
Yeah, look, well, we have like a small town where I live, and they have a little fire brigade there, just kind of a little town thing, a few lads, whatever. But the council in the next biggest town, who are the council for the county, they insisted that little fire brigade had to have a black lad. Now, there wasn't any black lads, right? So they sent one.
They sent a convicted pyromaniac.
So they gerrymandered in a black guy, a young lad, who didn't want to be there, but he had to kind of go because they probably cut off his dole or something. But it turned out it was an absolute disaster. I was talking to one of the lads. He says he wouldn't do anything they asked him. He wouldn't get out of the fire truck. It was,
I don't like fire.
Yeah, he literally. This is it in action. He was an absolute disaster. But the big wigs, the empathy people in the councils, no, we have to. We're living in the modern age. We have to have at least one black person on that troop. And they gerrymandered him, and he was an absolute. Now, luckily for the lads, he left because they couldn't get rid of him.
Yeah.
There was no way, no matter what complaints they said, it wouldn't have made any difference. It was all about ticking a box. That
is
going fecked off on us. But that's where it goes. So now you end up with ever more of these people who know that they're only there to tick a box, so they don't have to actually do the job. Or if they do it, they can do it any way they like. So they don't have to bother. Whereas the likes of you and I are busting our ass trying to keep the thing going and doing double the work to make up for the idiots, which is how it goes. I think it's look whenever you get to that point, and we are there, certainly in Ireland. I know
we're circling the drain, aren't we? We're circling the drain.
Yeah, we are. Absolutely, we are. I mean, we are in the like the old saying goes. How often do you think of Rome? Well, me 5 times a day usually, about 5 times, give or take. Yeah.
You know what you remind me of there? I remember joking about this years ago, saying that the fire brigade was always a choice job in Middlesbrough. It's a rough, scruffy town, and everyone wanted to be a fireman because it's like good job, got status. It's not low status, like you're not working in the sewer, and you don't need a college degree. So in Borough, whenever there was like a place come up for the fire department, they'd get like 50,000 applicants, and I remember noticing years ago that it was rigged because everyone wants to be a fireman. And then there's a fire, and the fire truck turns up, and it looks like the cast of the Cosby Show. I was like, how's every single bloke on the fire engine black? Like when there's 8 black people in Borough, and 7 of them are in the fire department.
Something slightly suspicious there. Slightly.
Unless they just had like coal on them, or they've been in a fire, in a particularly big blaze. It's anyway, Derek. I've enjoyed myself, right? But that's the longest I've ever talked to anyone, and I'm worried that. I'm worried that an hour. I will have to. I'm gonna have to take out all the I's, all the M's, they don't like any of the religious stuff. But that's an hour and 42, and I'm worried that we'll lose it if it goes too long. It might die on the.
Well, look, I'd have had a blast. Always, I think we'd have good crack in a pub. You and me, probably get too pissed.
Honestly, next trip home, I'll jump on a ferry in Liverpool. I'll come over and we'll go for a pint.
Yeah, absolutely.
I could talk to you for hours, mate. Right, so what I'll do is I'll edit it and I'll shoot you a copy once I've sanitized it. If you want to put it on yours, you can do.
Work your magic. All
right, we'll do this again soon, though, Derek. I always enjoy talking to you.
No problem. Hit me up anytime.
Have a good night, mate. See you later.
You too. Cheers. Good luck, Matt.
All right, that was the excellent Derek Domino. There's his channel. I'll put a link in the description if you want to go and follow him. He's great. He's cracked class, so go and follow him. And I'm sure you'll have a whale of a time watching his back catalogue. He's a funny man. And he talks sense, far more sense than anybody in a position of authority in Ireland or the UK. So there you go. All right, thanks for tuning in. We intended to talk through a few topics there, but we just basically talk bollocks for an hour and a half. But I'm sure some people will enjoy it, so have at it. All right, thanks for tuning in. See you all soon. Cheers.